Hello, my name is Jonathan Green. I'm a DevOps engineer here at LYRASIS, and I'm going to give you a bit of a tour of Islandora today. What I'd like to do to start off with is show you a couple of our sites that we host, show you some of the features there, and then I'll bring you into our demo site and show you some of the administrative features of Islandora. So the site you see up on my screen right now is the University of West Florida's site. It's their institutional repository. You can see it's got a nice theme here that stays with the branding of their institution. If you scroll down, you get a little bit of a welcome message, and then you have each of the different colleges. If I click on, say, the College of Business, it takes me into a page that sort of tells me about the College of Business, and then also kind of gives me each department within the college. So if I click on this department, I can see this faculty member. If I click on this faculty member, it gives me a little bit of information about the faculty member, a small snippet of his CV. He's an associate professor. And then it gives me sort of all the articles that are published by him. You can see one of them here is currently under embargo. You can see there are facets on the side, so if there's a large number of articles and you're looking for something in particular, you can do some filtering based on that. So say I was interested in sports wagering, I see that there are 3 articles based on that. I can see each of the articles and see a little bit of information about them. If I click on a particular one, say the sensitivity of findings of expected bookmaker profitability, I actually get a page about the article. You can see here that I get sort of a preview of the first page. I have a citation of the article here, and you can have different citation styles. If I flip through the citation styles, you can see they sort of update as I go. You can download a PDF copy of it. If you click on this details button, you can get a bunch more information, metadata about the article. You can see subjects and abstract. You can see the DOI, the volume, the issue, the pages. If I actually click on the PDF, I actually get the full copy of the article. If I go back here, you can see another feature that we support is this altmetrics badge. This kind of gives some information about the article in a little popover. So it's been tweeted by 3 people. If I click on it, it'll actually take me to the altmetric website and give me some more information. This badge can be enabled or disabled, and there's some other badges that can be shown as well. They only show up when there is information about the particular article. So if I go back, if this one doesn't have any information, yeah, see the altmetric badge doesn't appear. That kind of gives a little bit of an idea of what an IR looks like in Islandora. One thing that I think is unique about Islandora as an IR is that Islandora is actually a digital asset management system that has IR functionality, but it means that you can store other things in Islandora as well. So, like, for example, at UWF, they have these university archives that have some other information in them that is not necessarily things you'd usually find in an IR. And on that note, I want to show off a couple of our other sites that aren't IRs but do store some interesting digital content. So here's the Palos Verdes digital archives. This is mostly an image archive, but they have some really cool cool content in here. They also have some newspapers. Really go into this marine land collection, you can see digitized images from marine land of the Pacific. If we actually sort of click on one of the images, you get this really nice Sea Dragon deep zoom viewer, and we can kind of zoom in on the images. You can see it's only loading in my browser the tiles that is needed, so it loads nice and quick, even though this is quite a large image. You can see there's sort of an abstract about the image. If we click on full description, you can find quite a lot more information about the image. Another pretty neat collection I want to show off over here is these telephone directories. So if we go into the telephone directories, you can see their scans, high resolution scans of old telephone directories from the South Bay area. If we click on one of these, you can see it sort of shows up in a book viewer. It's the same thing. These are really high resolution scans, but they're sort of served through an image server, so they load nice and quickly. We can use these buttons to sort of scroll through the directory. You can click on these zoom buttons to load larger images, so you can see some description of how to use a telephone. I really think these collections are pretty cool to take a look through. We'll zoom back out, and you can see sort of all the different numbers. I think it's cool scrolling through these. The numbers are listed as 4 digits. And it's neat to see the long distance rates that are published. Again, as with sort of all the items in Islandora, there's this full description tab that gives you a much more detailed description of the item. Here's another collection that we host from the American Institute of Physics. They have some AV items in their collection. If we go in here, you can see these early Physical Society movies. I think these are kind of cool. Again, it pulls up. You've got some information here, and then a full description with much more detailed information. You can see the item. If you click play, it'll play in the browser. Forward a little bit. You can see all these sort of movies that are pretty cool. So pause that. There's sort of a full screen button. For some reason, full screen sort of breaks my screen recording that I'm doing, so I'm not going to make anything full screen in this video, but a lot of the items can be switched to full screen mode. If we go back to their digital collections, there's a whole bunch of different things. They've got some rare books that I think are really cool. So if we go into their special collections books, the ABC of Atoms, you can see it also presents in this book viewer view. There's again a full screen button. You can sort of see they provide a PDF download of these books as well if you want to read them in PDF form. They give you a little bit of metadata there, and then more metadata over on this tab. We can sort of scroll through the book. We can make it full screen. We can click this text button, and you can see the OCR text from the book, which is pretty cool, and it allows us to do full text searches within the book. So if I do a search for atom, take a minute, and then you can see as you mouse over, it gives you a little snippet of where that shows up in the book, and then if you click on the snippet, you can see it highlights it on the page in the book based on what was OCR'd out of the book. You can see they have a link here for rules for use in publication. Just kind of gives some examples of the different types of content that you can put in Islandora. They also have oral histories and institutional histories. So with that, I think we'll go to my demo IR, and I'll give a bit of a tour of some features of the IR. Right now, my demo IR doesn't have a whole lot of content in it. I've put in one department and one researcher. If I go back home here, all this information is customizable, so it's all stored in XML in Islandora. This Manage tab up here is sort of the gateway to the management of objects in Islandora. It's all sort of context sensitive depending who's logged in, and there's a pretty robust set of permissions that allow you to give particular users particular permissions. So I'm an admin right now. If I log out, you can see all those menus disappear. This navigation bar also has many less links. A lot of people hide this bookmarks for anonymous users, and then you get that sort of more full screen display like you saw in the others. So if I log back in here, put in my username, there we go. So I'm logged back in as admin, and I just want to update this description here just to show you that it's possible. So if we go into the Manage tab and we go to data streams, we have this mods record. Everything in Islandora is stored as mods. You can click on it and you can actually see the mods record. You can see the XML. But there's also forms to edit all these things. So if I go into edit in the mods record, you can see that description right here. And if we edit it, so we'll just take that part out. When we click update, you can see that it's shown here. Another feature of Islandora is that everything's versioned. So if I go into this data streams tab again, you can see there's 7 different versions of this mods record. If I click on the 7, you can see each of them. If I go to version 6, you can see that it's got the text in it that I had taken out, and we can even revert to that version if we want to. But we'll just leave it as it is. But it's nice to show that there's an audit trail for all the information inside Islandora. On that note, there's other things I'll show you later on when we have some digital assets attached. But we keep checksums of all the items, and then we run checksum checker on them so that we ensure the sort of digital preservation of the objects within Islandora as well. Another feature of Islandora is that form that I showed you is very customizable. So like this form, all this information can be edited. All the labels can be changed, fields can be added, fields can be removed. All that is done through this sort of manage forms link. So you can see I was modifying a collection, so here's the collection mods form. If we want to copy that form, we'll make a new copy of it, and we'll call it new collection mods form. We'll go copy. And then this gives you ability to actually edit the whole thing. You can see like every single field is represented. There's quite a few options actually to modify these things. I'm just going to change something really simple. I'm going to change this collection title to say my collection title. I'm going to save the form. Now, each form can be associated with different content models. So if I go back to forms, you can see my new collection mods form. Right now it's not associated with anything, so I'm going to click associate, and I'm going to associate it with the Islandora collection content model. This metadata data stream is going to be mods. It's set its title field. We can just leave the rest of those things and click OK. And now when I go to manage, if I click edit beside this mods record, it gives me a choice of forms since there's 2 forms associated with a collection. So I'm going to choose my new collection mods form. If I click next, you can see that the title has been changed to my collection title. It's a very minor change, but you can see how the whole thing can be edited. So I'm just going to go back into my forms, and since we don't really need this, I'm going to get rid of my collection mods form and delete it. And once it's gone, then you can see, if I go back in here, that it goes back to the default form. Just goes right into it, and there's no sort of my there. So that's another powerful feature of Islandora, being able to A, directly edit metadata, and B, be able to very thoroughly customize forms however you'd like. So you can see my department here. It's not as pretty as the departments in the UWF IR because it's just got this default thumbnail. All these thumbnails are changeable in Islandora, so if we want to change this department's thumbnail, we can click on here. So we're in the department, and then we can click manage. We can go to data streams again. And it's the same thing. Instead of editing mods this time, we're going to edit the thumbnail. I'm going to replace the thumbnail with something else. I just copied one of the thumbnails from UWF, so we'll add those contents. It's been successfully updated. If we go home, you can see there's a nice College of Business thumbnail there. You can replace that with any sort of image that you want. So if I go into my department, perhaps we want to add a new researcher. So we'll do that by going to the Manage tab again, and we're going to add an object to this collection. We're going to add a collection content model. The researchers are sort of collections within this. You can specify a permanent identifier for this, or we can just click next and one will be generated for you. We're not going to ingest this from a markxml file, so we'll click next. And this gives you the full metadata form to fill out. So I'm just going to do this quickly. Researcher 2. I'm going to put a little bit of information about researcher 2. And then we'll click ingest. There we go. So we've created our researcher 2 in department 1. Then you can add your citations, your papers, information about this researcher here through the Manage tab. If we were to click Add an object to this collection, we can choose the citation content model, and then you get the full citation content model form to fill out with all the information. Another feature for the IR that I want to show off here instead of doing that is to go into the Manage tab. We'll go into Collection. We want to batch import objects. And so we have a number of different importers that can pull information in from external sources. We've got a DOI importer, an EndNote importer, PubMed, and RIS. There's also the zip file importer. The zip file importer is one that's used very commonly. It lets you have a pre-formatted zip file. The format of the zip file is available in the Islandora documentation, but it lets you include a mods record and the content, and it will ingest everything into the zip file into Islandora. Today, for this IR demo, I'm going to show off the DOI importer. So if I click next, I can have a text file full of the DOIs, and they'll all get pulled in. Or you can sort of put them in one at a time. So I'm going to pull in this DOI right here. If I click import, it goes into this batch ingest screen. It doesn't take very long, and then it says complete. So if I go edit here, you can see that DOI was for this paper, and that's been pulled in. I'm going to actually do another one while I'm at it. So we'll go compound, collection, and batch import objects. And I'll pull in another popular paper, and I can show you some more of the altmetrics things. So I'll pull that in. You can see that's in here now. Now there's this Stephen Hawking paper, there are no black holes. If I click on that, you can see I get much more information about altmetrics because this is a very popular article. And just to show off the sort of things that you can see with this altmetrics badge, you can click here and it will give you more information about it. There's also this other tab here that's gives you information pulled from Sherpa Romeo about the journal and what you can and can't do with that. So, you know, it shows you that authors retain copyright, it gives you the Romeo color, and it kind of gives you some idea what you're allowed to upload to your IR. So the publisher's version / PDF can't be used in this particular case, but you can put preprints up, I believe. So we can go back to this View tab. You can see, again, there's the citation styles here. But there's actually no binary, you know, there's no PDF attached to this citation. So if we go back to our researcher, you can see both of those, but perhaps we want to attach a PDF to one of these that have been batch imported. You know, this is the same sort of thing. This is optional, but there's a link here to search for the DOI in Google Scholar. There's also, I'll show you if we can find it easily here. In the page source, there's these information put in here that Google Scholar uses to index your IR. So we try and put in all the tags that Google Scholar requires in order to be able to index your IR properly. Those aren't visible to the user, but are just the kind of thing that are nice to know that they're there. So to add a PDF to this, again, we go to the Manage tab. We go over to Data Streams, and we're going to add a data stream. You can see here are different ones that we're allowed to add. So we're going to add the PDF data stream. We'll call this the label. It doesn't matter. It's just sort of a tag that we apply to it. So I'm going to choose a document. I don't actually have this paper, but we'll upload a paper that I do have. We'll add the data stream. Go back into our Manage tab, and we'll make sure all the derivatives are created for this data stream. And what this process is doing is giving us all the thumbnails. It's giving us extracting the full text from the PDF so that we can see the text and search the text from within the PDF. This particular PDF that I just loaded is just sort of a lorem ipsum, but it kind of gives an idea. So if I go over here now, you can see we've got this PDF data stream. We've got a thumbnail, which is just a small version of it. We've got this preview image that's displayed that kind of gives a little bit higher resolution copy. And then we've got this TechMD that's pulled out of every binary that's loaded into Islandora for digital preservation. It uses the FITS tool to pull information out about the document that's been loaded. So you can see this came from Microsoft Word. You can see the author. You can see a whole bunch of different things that come out, and we pull that out for everyone. As I mentioned before, there's also this premise metadata. Anytime there's a binary attached to an object in Islandora, you get this digital preservation metadata. Probably the most important thing in here is that we keep a checksum and that checksum is checked against the binary. We by default do it twice a year, just to make sure for digital preservation purposes that the binary hasn't changed and that you can be sure that all your data is correct. You can also see here the full text has been pulled out of the document, and so when I go back now to my researcher, you can see there's this item that still has no binary attached to it, but now this one does. You can also change this thumbnail however you'd like, but this is sort of the default thumbnail that shows up. So if I click here, now you can see there's the test document right there. If you click on it, you can get the document. What else can we show off? So another feature here, let's go into here and say that we need to embargo this. This document shouldn't be visible to anonymous users right now. So if we click on embargo up here, we can do a data stream level embargo. We want to embargo the PDF data stream, and we want to embargo it till, let's say, tomorrow. If I click update, that embargo will automatically come off when it's done. But I close this. Now I can still see the PDF, I can still view the PDF because I'm logged in as the admin user, but if I log out and I go back in here, I go into Researcher 2, I can still see the thumbnail there, I can still get into the item, and I can still see this like first page, usually a cover sheet or just sort of an introduction. But now I can't see the PDF. There's no PDF link, there's nowhere to click. I can still see all the details, but that's embargoed. And then tomorrow, when that embargo date comes up, the PDF will be visible to anonymous users again. So in this case, I embargoed the PDF, but you can also embargo the whole object. You can there's a lot of flexibility in that embargo. So let's go back here and log in as an admin so I can see everything again. Cool. So one other thing that you might have noticed, my Researcher 1 has a nice picture, but Researcher 2 doesn't. Just, to show that, all of this stuff can be changed. If I go into Researcher 2 here, and I click on Manage, we can update all these things to make it look a little bit nicer. So that we can take this thumbnail that's here and I can replace it. I'll choose a file. What do I got here? I already used him. There we go. There's a good professor picture. So we'll add that. Now if I go back to my department, you can see each one has a nice thumbnail. If I go into Researcher 2 here, you can see both of these papers that I've ingested. Usually in Researcher 2, the creator actually would be the researcher, but I've just sort of pulled in random DOIs that I had for testing. But you can see, again, as we saw in the UWF site, there's these facets here. We can do a search across the site as well for I'll pull up this paper. Another feature that I want to show off really quickly is we can add another collection, and we'll not give it a permanent identifier. Next. I'm going to call this our special collections collection. If I click ingest, we get this new special collections collection. And inside this collection, right now I have everything set up to only allow the collection and the citation content model. But what I really want to do is to show you some other types of content that can go in here. And you can see there's quite a few different ones. I'm going to enable the audio content model, and I'm going to enable the large image content model. I click update. So say your special collections had some things that could live in the repository as well. If I go over here and we go add an object to this collection, now we can choose, say, the large image content model. And I've got this large Civil War map that I'm going to load in. We click. There's a ton of information we can fill out here, but title's the only one that's mandatory. You can also change what's mandatory to be loaded in here. So if I go here and I go look at my demo objects, go large images, this map, and go ingest. It'll take a moment because it's a fairly large file. But then we've got this Civil War map loaded. You can see derivatives are sort of created asynchronously. So the object's been ingested, but the access copies, the ones that are used for the deep zoom, aren't here yet. So it sort of tells you about that while it goes through and creates those. So while it's creating those, I'm going to load another object. So if we go back to special collections, you can see this is loading. Manage. I'm gonna go add an object to this collection, and we're gonna go the audio content model. We'll add some audio. I've got this MP3 of a frog. If we click next here, it'll let me choose the audio file. Let's go demo object. Frog course. We want to upload a thumbnail here. We'll go ingest. So it's going to ingest this audio file. You can see it gave me the thumbnail, and when I click play, you can hear the frog noises. If I go back to special collections, you can see this is still loading. And there's 2 items waiting for derivative generation now. So I'm going to show you another feature while all that processes, and then we'll come back. One of the other features that I think is really interesting and useful in Islandora is the usage stats. So if we click on this usage stats report, you can see while I've been going through and doing testing here, there's been 23 page views against the demo institutional repository collection. Department 1's had 18 page views. Researcher 1 is at 9. Researcher 2 is at 3. You can see each of the different items, how many times they've been viewed. You can see a link to them. There's also this PDF downloads report that right now isn't giving me anything because no one's actually downloaded any of the PDFs that I put up there. But if someone were to download the PDFs, that would give you the same sort of view of this usage stats, but of PDF downloads. If you actually go into the departments as well, when I click on the Manage tab, it gives you this collection stats here as well, just so you can have a little idea and you can sort of sort that however you want to. that's the sort of thing that I think a lot of people find very useful to give some idea how many people are actually in their IR. We also feature integration with Google Analytics, so you can hook Google Analytics optionally into your site, which will give you a lot more reporting about what's going on inside your website. So while those derivatives are generating still, I want to show off another feature. So there's this My Bookmarks feature. If we go into bookmarks, you can create different lists of bookmarks. So if we go add a list, so my research list description, list of items. So, one possible use for this is you're doing research and you need to create a list of items that that you're going to cite in your research. So now that I've got a list, and this is on a per user basis, so you can see I can create bookmarks here now on any of these pages. So say I need to go in here and I want to bookmark this item. I can scroll down to the bottom. I can have multiple lists. I can add this this paper to my bookmark list. Perhaps I'll add both these papers to my bookmark list. And then at any time I can go into my bookmarks. I can see my list and I can see a citation there. And then I can actually export this if I want to. I can export it in RIS, RTF, PDF, CSV. You can click these buttons and it'll sort of export anything in your bookmarks list. When you're done with your bookmarks, you can go in here. Go into your list. Oh, sorry. You can go in here. You can go into your list. And if you want to, you can click on this Manage tab and you can delete the list. And then when there's no list, as you've seen through my demo, then there's no ability to add those bookmarks. But it's a really useful feature for some users that need to kind of keep a list of papers that they're going to cite, something like that. Another feature that I can show off here is citation styles. So through our interface, you can add different citation styles. So say I want to add MLA, then you can grab CSL XML files. There's a whole repository of them in GitHub. So I have the one for MLA here. So I'm going to add that to the site. And now there's APA and MLA as citations. And so earlier when I was showing you this, in our citations list, we only saw APA as a style and it gave us that, but now we've got MLA there as well. So that's something that you're able to change within your repository, add, remove, change those citation styles. Now, at this point, our special collections should have updated, and you can see those asynchronous derivatives have created. So here's the Civil War map, and it's got a thumbnail now. If we click on this, you can see we get the deep zoom image. It's actually quite a large image that I uploaded. So if I zoom right in here, you can see it loads in the high resolution copy so that both loads fast and you're able to sort of view the detailed areas if you want to. So if I scroll in here, you can see it pull in those nice high resolution images. We go into the Manage tab. Again, under data streams, you can see we've got this TechMD file. The TechMD file gives us all the technical metadata. For this JPEG 2000 image, there's a lot more than there was for some of the PDFs that we had before. We've got thumbnails generated. Again, we've got this premise. The premise, again, keeps checksums, and we check those checksums. You can also download the premise data as an XML file. Yeah. So I think that gives you a pretty good overview of how Islandora works and the functionality that you can expect. Hopefully that sort of hit on all the points that you were hoping to learn about Islandora. So thank you.